Googling, do the infected breed?
Yeah, well, welcome to being on some sort of watch list.
This raises questions about the nature of the rage virus and its effects on infected individuals, suggesting that while it causes extreme aggression and physical deterioration, it doesn't necessarily eliminate the ability to reproduce. I'm telling you, they're fucking men. You're listening to Poddy Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing with Billy and Dave. How you doing, mate?
I'm good.
That's
How are
good.
you?
I'm good because this week we get to talk about a film that a lot of people have been anticipating for a very, very, very long time.
28 years?
It's not, sadly. I kind of wish they'd waited a few more years.
Yeah.
But
Missed opportunity.
Close enough. Because
It's a
today
long
we are
fucking time,
talking. Yes, today we're talking about 28 years later, a 2025 post-apocalyptic coming-of-age horror film is what Wikipedia lists it as. Produced and directed, of course, by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, the original duo back again. It is the third installment in the 28 Days Later film series, with, yes, the first film being 2002 and the second film being 2007. It stars Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Alfie Williams, and Ray Fiennes. And what is it about, Dave?
The majority of it is about a young kid who has lived a semi-sheltered existence on Lindisfarne, at the far north of England, during this not zombie apocalypse, is exposed to a little bit, as you say, coming of age. He leaves his sheltered village to go on his first hunting trip with his da and encounters, nasty zombies. And then there's some family drama.
Yeah.
And he ends up then going off on an adventure with his mum to try and find a doctor to cure her initially unknown ailment. She's afflicted by something. Meanwhile, there's a kind of weird overarching story that kicks off in the kind of cold open which is set 20 shortly after the event or around the events of the second film, I think, from memory, where we see a young boy named Jimmy who is left orphaned by his crackpot religious father, who sort of sends him off with a crucifix to fend for himself after everyone gets overrun by rage-infected people, and seemingly has nothing to do with the rest of the film until the very end.
Until the final scene, yeah. It was an interesting cold open to open with.
The not uncontroversial final scene, which people have a lot of opinions about.
Well, I wonder if you know, because I didn't know until after I saw the movie. You probably did, because you're always more up on movie news than me.
That's a very polite way of saying I recognise the references because I'm old.
No, not references. Did you know that this is not only a planned trilogy, but that the second film has actually already been shot?
I did not know they'd shot them back to back. I had read that this was kind of the start of a new trilogy that kind of Boyle and Garland are 100% back on deck.
Fuck to see where this goes.
Well, the ending. I mean, if that's setting the tone for the next film, it's going to be a very weird experience.
So we'll get to that, but let's dive straight into it. There's so much to talk about with this film. I kind of want to start on the look of the film, which obviously we're coming off. 28 Days Later was shot on handheld video camera, effectively. This movie, I don't know if you know the hype around it. It was all shot on iPhone.
What?
However,
this is
why I want to talk about this, because it was shot on iPhone, but realistically, the iPhone is not doing much of the heavy lifting. It's an iPhone with a $200,000 lens attached.
I was going to say
it's got a full rig. And I don't personally understand it because this is a really
is
good
that
looking
done as
film.
a gimmick? Do you think? What is the point? It's surely with budgets like this, the camera itself, even though those cameras are expensive, it's such a small part of them. It's you're not doing that to save money. Is it a marketing gimmick? Danny Boyle's not Soderbergh. He's not the guy that generally does these things.
Well, the difference too is, you look at Unsane, which Soderbergh shot on iPhone, or you look at Tangerine, which, Sean Baker shot on iPhone. Those films have the look that they were shot on iPhone. Like the filming on iPhone actually serves a purpose there.
An aesthetic as well as a budgetary.
Whereas here, you cannot tell that, even in the back of my head, I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to set himself constraints because sometimes creatively constraints can be a really good thing, and so maybe that's something he learned with the first
aerial
film.
Shots and stuff. So some cunt's up in a helicopter with a phone.
I guess I don't know. I don't know whether it was every single shot is iPhone, but what they've been touting is that it was shot on iPhone, and there are behind the scenes pics where you see the rig. My first thought was maybe it was a constraint thing to force creative thinking. And when the film started, I was like, okay, a lot of this so far is daytime. Maybe the iPhone can't handle low light, but no, there are night shots, and they don't look any different really. So I feel like maybe it was a bit of a gimmick because this film looks like any other film. This doesn't look like it was filmed with a low budget camera or with an iPhone.
It's presumably that it's the latest iPhone Pro Max, whatever, which is a bonkers. I mean, the camera in those is bonkers for a phone. And as you say, you can get. I mean, I've got some fairly decent array of lenses that I can bolt onto my phone that are quite good. They're obviously working on another level with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of lenses and things. On the software side, you've got. I can't remember what the video equivalent of Halide is, but there's, you can get apps on your phone for playing around with all the settings that are as good as anything you can get anywhere.
So they did use drones as well. So this film was primarily shot using an iPhone 15 Pro Max, which actually is not even the most modern one.
Then again, they were probably shooting a year or two ago, so it probably was at the time, I guess.
Yeah. So some shots employed a bullet time effect created using a custom-built circular rig equipped with 8 to 20 iPhone cameras.
Wow.
I
would love to see a doco on the actual shooting of this because that's fascinating.
Yeah. The iPhone's default camera software posed some challenges for filming because of its automatic focus tended to prioritize the brightest or most prominent object in the frame, requiring manual overrides to achieve the desired cinematic effect. So, what they've done is impressive. It's very impressive, which is why I wanted to bring it up. But it doesn't. I don't think it adds anything to the film.
Why though? And
that's my.
If I was the cinematographer, I'm assuming you'd be a bit pissed off. It's like this is not.
Yeah.
You're asking me to try and replicate what I do as an artist. It's like going to Picasso and giving you a box of crayons and going, see what you can do with those.
I mean, I have no problem with it. As I said, if it's for a purpose, like I said, the first film was shot on handheld cams, and that really added to the feel and everything of that film. But in this case,
that's an aesthetic decision. I don't believe this is an aesthetic.
That's my issue.
I can't think
too.
why.
Look, I'll send you some pictures of the rig that you can put up here when you're doing the edit.
Like I said, I'd love to see a behind the scenes, particularly of that.
It doesn't
Matrix style rig.
It certainly doesn't look like they're filming with an iPhone. Like it's fully rigged up as a cinema camera.
Yeah.
But it is using the brains of an iPhone, I guess, essentially. So it is pretty fascinating stuff. But I do think that the film looks good. I love the look of the zombies.
Tell you what, I have nothing to base this on other than the fact it just popped into my mind. But I'd be interested to see if Apple were a financial contributor to the film and if they threw, however many $1 million towards the budget on the proviso that you've got to shoot it all on iPhones, we'll provide you with all the kit and everything else.
Yeah.
So that all of the subsequent media coverage is that, oh my God, this film was shot on iPhones.
Yeah. I do think the film looks good.
It looks, some of it looks fucking good.
Yeah, and I like the use of, I think it's edited really interestingly. I don't remember this in the previous films, but there's a lot of skipped frames and stuff. Like anytime a zombie gets shot, there's
editing in this, some of which I liked, some of which I didn't love.
Yeah, what didn't work for you?
There was, skipped frames came into it, but there was some of the weird jerky, not even really flashback stuff. I'm trying to think where in the film it was. I think it was during the hunting trip with Aaron Taylor Johnson's with his dad, and you get these jerky shots to a kind of red filtered kind of nighttime view of infected doing infected things.
Yeah.
Not entirely clear whether what you're seeing is a flashback or what you're seeing is it just something that's happening somewhere else, or what but it's very jerkily done. I kind of get that emotionally what they were going for, but narratively it didn't make sense to me, and I didn't like those. But there were, a whole other stretches of the film that I thought were edited beautifully. So maybe it's just me. It's just a stylistic thing that didn't resonate for me personally.
Yeah, I thought all of the acting was fantastic. I had no idea that Ray Fiennes was in this film. I didn't know he was
in it either, but all four of them. I mean, Alfie...
Great child performance, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like the
Alfie
second
Williams.
thing he's ever done, I think. He was... And he is the star of this film. He's up there with, like, Roman Griffin Davis's. For his age, he's in almost a league of his own. And it was so natural. At no point did you get that kind of child actor thing where you can see they're trying to remember lines, and therefore the whole thing is very stilted and unnatural, which is what you normally get at that age. He was really great, I thought.
Yeah.
Not enough Jodie Comer for my liking, but what there was good.
Her stuff was fantastic, though. I mean, it's really interesting, the structure of this film, because as you said, the first half of the film is like very much a father-son journey, and then the second half is all son and
kids
mother.
Are some unforgiving fuckers. One snog with the local teacher, and Dad's out of the picture completely for the rest of the film. I was like, Jesus Christ!
No, I actually really, really loved the structure of this film. That you almost get those two adventures.
Because I was thinking, why are you paying one of the greatest living actresses, Jodie Comer, to be in your film to
have her
rant and rave in a bed
scenes,
for 5 seconds, and then obviously you get to part 2 of the main story. And then it's a mother-son thing with a gut punch at the end of it.
The stuff between them was fantastic. The stuff between the three, those two and Ray Fiennes was phenomenal. Like you say, that gut punch at the my God, it was rough and it was heartbreaking, and I thought it was really beautifully done.
Yeah, really beautifully done.
Yeah, which brings us then to the end of the film. So you said that it was not uncontroversial. I have not
a lot of
really
people
heard
hate
anything.
the ending, and I've read a lot of people going, it's tonally inconsistent, it's completely fucking bizarre. I think a lot of it is to do with there's a cultural reference that kind of informs that entire scene that the majority of the audience are never going to get.
Because they're not British, or...
Well, so you've got Alfie off by himself walking the earth like Cain after he drops the baby back at Lindisfarne. How he got there and dropped it and left without anyone seeing him when they've got people watching beyond me, I don't know. But he drops the baby off and heads off by himself and encounters a bunch of infected, fights off one or two, more start coming, so he runs, but he gets to a dead end. He's seemingly fucked, and then suddenly you get this gang of people appearing up on the cliff
almost
line.
like Robin Hood and his merry men.
Kind of. Yeah. All in kind of tracksuits and with gold chains and all the rest of it. All dressed like Jimmy Savile, who is... for like 20 odd years was the host of Top of the Pops in the UK. He was a massive star in the media. Kind of like Molly Meldrum doesn't really cut it for. We don't really have an equivalent. Richard Wilkins for about 10 years was probably the closest Australians had. Ryan Seacrest would be an American equivalent in terms of stature, not in terms of how
personality.
Interviewed all the biggest stars, and by virtue of that was a massive star himself. And then towards the end of his career and certainly after his death, it came out that he was just the most horrendous sex offender, including with, underage elderly people. Yeah, just horrendous. It became a national pariah after his death. So a very odd choice as your cultural touch point for this. Given the time frame of the film, it makes sense because this is set kind of the way the world of this franchise has gone. They wouldn't have known about all of that. The quote-unquote zombie apocalypse happened before all of this stuff would have come out in our timeline. So it makes sense that and particularly because Jimmy, as a child, when he kind of lost access to TV and adults and all the rest of it, would have been when Jimmy Savile was kind of, one of the biggest name faces on TV. And also when the Teletubbies were on at their peak, hence the Teletubbies things happening at the end. So it all makes sense. I think it's a very odd choice creatively, given that most people in the audience won't get it, and they're just going to be like, what the fuck is this? Who are these people? Why are they dressed like that?
It really is.
I'm assuming that
Mad Max is the closest I can pull to. It's very kind of zany. There's zany characters, and you're coming right off this really emotional gut punch with Jodie Comer and everything, and then straight into this really zany, over the top. It is definitely a massive shift.
Putting my kind of daytime marketer's hat on, given that we know there's a film coming in 22, the next film is next year.
Yeah, in January, not that far away.
Yeah, because as you said, they filmed them back to back, so it's all done. They're just spacing them out, because money. I don't think the weirdness of this ending will deter anyone from seeing the next film, because unanimously people seem to love the film up until that point. Even if they hate the ending, everyone's pretty positive on the film itself. So you're not deterring anyone by having a weird ending, but you are creating a lot of conversation
around what is going to happen.
What is going to happen with the next film based on that ending. So it kind of makes sense from that standpoint.
I'm so curious because all we really have for the next film is the title, which is The Bone Temple.
And we know that we're following the same kind of character or characters. Certainly Alfie's the main character in the next one.
We know that Cillian Murphy is appearing in the next film. In what capacity, nobody knows. Whether it's like, there he is riding his bike in the background, or, nobody really knows.
Well, he was exec producer on this film, I think. So he's very much involved. So I would assume if Alfie continues his kind of walk of Cain by himself without his dad, maybe he will encounter.
Possibly, but I think you're right. I think from a marketing perspective, it's really interesting because to what extent would you say that this film really sets itself up for a sequel? Like, if you don't think that final scene...
Other than the cliffhanger of the final scene...
But if you don't think the final scene is going to impact the tone of the next film, and also the next film has the title The Bone Temple, which to me signifies that maybe he's not continuing his journey. Maybe we're centered around that same area. Like, I don't know. It is an interesting move.
Yeah. And Gillian's back, which presumably makes it clear which of the two endings on the first film was the actual ending. Because I don't know if you recall, I rewatched them both, and from memory, the first film ends with what's her name? Anyway, saving and the kid saving Cillian.
Yeah.
And he wakes up in hospital. He's patched up, but then if you sort of wait through the credits, you get the kind of, but here's what could have happened. Ending where he doesn't survive. So I'm assuming,
for all we know, he's coming back as an infected.
Yeah, you're paying Oppenheimer that sort of money to have him under a shitload of makeup and just
that'd be a fun fucking twist. It'd be a fun twist.
It would.
Speaking of twists, there's a lot of things that we haven't covered. There's a whole turn in the second part there where they encounter, this foreign soldier who accompanies them on their journey for a bit.
Eric, the Swedish.
And at one point, he pulls out a smartphone and is showing pictures of his missus back home and talking about his mate who's a FedEx driver and stuff.
More product placement for Apple.
But
who may or may not have contributed to the budget.
But I love the world building of this. You know, like this is the first time we're seeing this universe in, 28 years later. And I love this idea that they quarantined the UK. It didn't spread out. So the rest of the world is effectively normal at this point. It's such a wild premise. I really love that. We
get some, because for the first two films, you've kind of, I spent a lot of those films going, what the fuck is happening outside the UK?
Yeah.
And they just kind of sitting back going, well, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Now we're
we know
actually seeing, they're sending people in, they're doing,
Yeah, and, you really feel for that guy when he's like, well, I'm never going home now. This is a quarantine zone. I'm like, this is it. I'm stuck here. No one's going to come get me out.
This is my fiancé. Oh, well, I guess my ex, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I really, really loved the world building of all that and stuff. Speaking of...
Two things I did spend most of the film querying.
Yeah.
Why are there fucking alphas? How is that a thing? Why are there suddenly these super tall, super strong, super smart infected? Because the infected presumably aren't breeding.
They are breeding. We see that.
No. She would have been
infected. Fuck.
No. What? Just because there was a pregnant woman? She was pregnant before she was infected. That's why the baby's not infected.
I don't think so. I had this discussion with Topher the other day because we were trying to work it out. Do the infected fuck?
No.
And I think the answer very clearly is yes, they are breeding.
Why is it very clearly that?
Well, because who is that woman? Who is that pregnant woman? She was a pregnant
woman who got bitten and became infected.
So where did she come from that she's just out there? She's not from the village that our main character is from. There's no other villages of survivors around that we know of.
Okay, you're leading me towards the kind of my other two part. The fact that there's alphas there, narratively, okay, you need to up the ante, so let's create some fucking Urukai versions of the infected. Doesn't make sense, but whatever. My bigger query is, one, why are the infected all fucking naked? So we've got fucking
because it's been 28 years. It's been 28 years.
No. But all right. So either everyone who's getting bitten or infected weirdly strips all their clothes off for no reason, or
no, because these people have been infected for a very, very, very long time. Think about
if I was wearing an outfit of clothing.
Think about COVID and how fast it spread and how quickly. Everyone in the world got COVID, right?
Yeah.
This virus, as far as we know, spreads at least as fast, if not faster.
You've got, what do they say, 8 seconds?
Exactly. Everyone in the UK became infected within the first 3 to 4 weeks, except for like those spare groups of survivors like this little village.
Yep.
I don't think there's that many new people getting infected. There would not be 10 people a day getting infected.
Why
These people have been infected for decades.
The infected must be breeding because there is no other reason. And 100%. That's why they're naked, because they're being born and they're not putting on clothes.
100%. These people have been infected for decades. They're not showering. They're not changing clothes. They're not.
But we know that the infected will die if they starve, because they say that at some point in the film, in the kind of massive exposition dump early on, where they say, over time, all the infected starved and died. So if the infected are breeding and having infected babies, and that's why they're all naked, because they grow up from a baby not putting on clothes, how are the babies surviving to adulthood without starving? Are the infected feeding their young? Because they don't. They other than the alphas, they seem like fucking mindless zombies. They don't seem like the type that are nurturing babies and bringing back food for them.
Yeah, this is what I think is really interesting. So, I mean, I don't know. We're getting into like philosophical discussion here. I don't think that breeding and nurturing necessarily requires intelligence. I think that is, that's animal instinct. That's something that animals do. They breed and raise their young. But that puts a different spin on the idea of a rage virus. If it's rage virus is just what people are calling it because
you're completely overcome by rage, and all you want to do is attack and kill and the red mist and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So now we're underneath all of that. There's God, it's 3 o'clock. I need to get home and feed the baby. It seems weird to me, and I'm hoping they kind of explore that because they've dropped all of these new things in this film, like the alphas, like the fact that suddenly all of the rage-infected people are all running around naked.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think I didn't question that at all. I was just like, these people have been infected for decades at this point.
This film flapping in your face.
Should have been called 28 inches longer. Yeah, I didn't question that for a second because I was just like, these people have been this way for decades. They're not, they're not wearing clothes. Like, if you became a zombie, like, you're not showering. If your clothes got stuck in a tree or something, that's it for you. You're just nude after that point.
Every zombie's clothes got snagged on bushes and fell off them?
It's been 20 years, mate. It's been such a long time.
I've got a pair of jeans that's 20 years old. It's not fallen off when I wear them.
Yeah, but you haven't been wearing it for 20 years straight. Yeah, I didn't question that at all. I was just straight in there. Like,
it was a lot of nudity in this film.
There was,
not the good kind.
So you just straight up assumed that pregnant zombie was infected while pregnant.
Yes, because otherwise, if you had two infected people fuck and get pregnant, surely they're producing an infected baby because everything about them is in. Whereas if she was already pregnant, then the baby is a separate kind of entity, and other than the umbilical cord is completely separate. So maybe the virus doesn't travel down an umbilical cord. But
I'm Googling, do the infected breed?
Yeah, welcome to being on some sort of watch list.
This raises questions about the nature of the rage virus and its effects on infected individuals, suggesting that while it causes extreme aggression and physical deterioration, it doesn't necessarily eliminate the ability to reproduce. I'm telling you, they're fucking men. Like, 100%. I did not even question it. It fascinates me how differently we approached it. Because I didn't even think for a second that she might have been pregnant before getting infected.
Because of Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Straight away, that's what I went to is, she just happened to be pregnant and then got infected.
Yeah, see, because my head was, if that's the case, they would have recognised her. She would have been from their village. There's no other towns of survivors around. It's not like there's huge amounts of survivors.
But she could have been pregnant. I mean, she was at 9 months. She could have been infected 9 months ago and just been walking the earth like the rest of the infected. She could have come from fucking 100 miles away.
Is the UK 100 miles big? Like, no offence, it's not a big place.
I did love the choice of Lindisfarne as where they were based. I think that's logically, in all of the UK, if you wanted a cool place to hole up, Lindisfarne is the place to go because you can get on and off, but only at certain times of the day. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. So all in all, I'm a fan of this movie. I'm really looking forward to the second one. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Again, I find it fascinating that you don't think that the final scene is going to dictate the tone of the next one. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, fucking sick. The next film is Mad Max. Because that's kind of what this final scene set up.
In terms of kind of the almost silliness of having them all dressed as Jimmy Savage.
That's what I'm hoping for.
It was surreal.
Yeah, I think we're all in on that.
But I think they're going to be a big part because I don't know if you looked at the credits. Every single one of them has a name.
Yeah.
Like they're Jimmy this, Jimmy that, Jimmy this, Jimmy that. They're all different versions of Jimmy. He's obviously Jimmy from the start because he's got the crucifix that the dad gave. But you don't bother giving names to them all when none of them had speaking parts pretty much for that scene.
Yeah.
Unless it's going to play out in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, I'm.
How you score it?
Oh, I'm an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, ditto. Same.
Nice.
At the moment, I think it's my favourite of the three, despite the weird ending.
I think.
It will depend a lot on how it plays out in what essentially is part 2 of this film.
Trilogy.
But they haven't filmed that yet. This was done as kind of one big film that they cut into kind of like Dune. So it will depend a little bit on how they play that out, but Yeah, it really worked for me. I loved the structure of it. I loved the dad part, the mum part. I loved all of that. I think the acting was all next level superlative. Ralph Fiennes was so good.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, highly, highly recommended.
Nice. Well, next week we'll be getting to Mithrigan 2.0, which I know you've been looking forward to.
I loved Mithrigan.
I liked it, and I was looking forward to this until I saw a trailer, so I'll be curious to see how it goes. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen the trailer yet, but I think I remember saying when we talked about the first film, it's far and away my favourite of the kind of killer doll / robot
Child's play.
Yeah, better than any Chucky film. Better than I really loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Nice. So that's next week. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at poddymouthradio.com or poddymouthradio@gmail.com. You can go and join the Facebook listener community, or even better, go check out our patreon.com/poddymouthradio, where you get all kinds of bonus shows and stuff, going through Shyamalan's filmography. And,
for our sins.
And we'll catch you next week.
And go check out our YouTube channel, which we're starting to put a little bit more love into as well.
Yep.
YouTube, just look for Poddy Mouth Radio, you'll find it there.